So
Yeah.
anyway, I talked to David for 4 hours. Yeah, why did I bring that up? Because
David Fravor. You were
yeah,
talking. Let's explain who David Fravor was.
yeah,
He's a fighter jet pilot for the Navy, and he discovered a UFO off the coast of San Diego that, when they tracked it, went from 60,000 feet to 1 feet in a second or less. They don't know how fast it went because it's the blip of a radar, but the thing traveled in an insane way that defies all of our understanding of propulsion, all of our understanding of physics. And this thing also actively was blocking their tracking systems, which is an act of war. If the Soviet Union or China was doing that, that's technically an act of war. So this thing was doing something that showed that it was intelligently aware of the fact that they are using tracking devices to try to lock in on it. And it behaved and moved in a way that defies all of our understandings of propulsion systems. It didn't give off any heat signature. And the people from the Navy that he was communicating with saying, yeah, we see these every now and again. We don't know what the fuck they are.
So the thing I was gonna say, there's a lot of interesting things to say about this, but just this, I just remembered that it felt like from that entire experience that because it didn't have a Chinese or a Russian flag on it, whatever he saw, is we tend to just the entire system doesn't want to acknowledge it. Like you don't know what to do with it. So they actually, most of like when you return back to the ship, and there's a bunch of pilots that that saw it. There's a lot of people that witnessed it, and then there's also the video. The majority of the people didn't know what to do with it. They just went on with their day like nothing happened. They kind of made fun of each other or whatever for yeah, sure, bro, you saw aliens, but like they didn't know how to comprehend it. That's what I meant. Like, if we encounter life from elsewhere in the universe, we think we would be as a population excited, but it feels like just like with Bigfoot, we're excited by the mystery when they're just out of reach, but when they're like among us. There's so many mysteries and incredible things among us that we just kind of take them for granted, and
Yeah.
we don't even or ignore them. Actually, even worse, we ignore them.
We get used to things.
And that was the weird thing. The biggest mystery to me about what David Fravor saw, and then also with the other videos in 2014, something like that, the Go Fast, is like it wasn't a bigger deal than I thought it would be.
Well, the big deal was when the Pentagon came out and said that they have recovered some vehicles that are not of this world. Now, they didn't expand on that. There hasn't been more conversation about that. But this is a purely speculation. My speculation is they are slowly spoon-feeding us information to allow people to be more comfortable with the inevitable arrival of something. And if they believe that something's coming, they don't want it to happen all at once. You see what happens just with the pandemic. You see what happens with George Floyd. You see what happens with anytime there's a big shock to our system and there's chaos in the streets, it's unmanageable. And if the UFOs came in the middle of something like that, like Jesus Christ, like who the fuck knows what would go down? If I was someone who's in a position of power, I would say, listen, this information's going to get out. It's inevitable. So why don't we let people know now? Just give them, just in words, say, we have recovered crafts that are not of this world. Say something crazy like that. Print it in the New York Times, get it out there, and then slowly drip out more information. When they see these videos, they'll get more and more accustomed to it. And then eventually to be like masks. Like you walk down the street, everybody has a mask on. You don't even think about it.
Yeah, but okay, so let me...
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I totally... And this is such a fascinating question. If the government is in possession of an alien spacecraft, what is the right way to release that information?
The real problem is if it's more potent than any weapon that any civilization has currently on this planet. So if the United States is in control of this vehicle that is more potent and can do things that, like, if you really do have something that can go from 60,000 feet to 1 foot in under a second, that defies all of our understandings of speed, right? I mean, that's so fast. If you could do that,
well, There's arguments against because it could be human created technology too that's just 15, 20, 30 years out. Like the stealth bomber was developed secretly. So what defies it's our perception of its movement capabilities is
Right.
what defies. But there could be some tricks on perception that, I mean, that's the whole point with a stealth bomber is it's difficult to detect.
Sure.
And so there could be same kind of tricks on perception that you could just be playing different kinds of amazing secret human created technology that is able to deceive the human eye.
That's a good point. I mean, but the thing about it is they tracked it. It wasn't just that it was the human eye that saw this and it's deceptive, but also like the stealth bomber. You know, the way it's designed, it blocks radar, or radar doesn't catch onto it. I think it is possible that some human created technology that's so far advanced from anything that we're currently that we currently understand, like in terms of like mainstream propulsion experts and fighter pilots like David Fravor and military people, it is possible that some civilization, one of the big civilizations on this planet, whether it's China or Russia, has come up with something that's above and beyond what everybody knows. But it's not likely. It's not likely that they've made that much of a leap.
In your sense, on the other side, if it's alien technology, see, I'm more optimistic. To me, as a scientist and engineer, and actually David Fravor says this too, in this time of pandemic, in this time of like just hard negative news everywhere, there would be nothing more inspiring than the government in an inspiring like Neil deGrasse Tyson way, coming out and saying we have not releasing the videos like they did, which is I don't know if you know, but they just put videos on the website like there's nothing. It's just videos. It's just like with like some boring documents that describe like nothing. They're not inspiring. We're not talking about like Neil deGrasse Tyson or like Carl Sagan Cosmos style, like a beautiful, inspiring. What is more inspiring than an alien spacecraft? Look, there's a fascinating mystery here. There's nothing more inspiring to us humans than that there's life out there, intelligent life out there.
But how would you handle it? Like, let's imagine you are the leader of the United States, and you find out, or whatever, the head of the Navy military intelligence program, whatever, whoever you are, you're a person that's in a position where you realize that this thing is from another world, and you have this responsibility to try to somehow or another publicize this.
Yeah,
Like
I would approach it 100% from the perspective of science. Here's a mystery. So forget weapon. Like you mentioned, there's this inclination to think like, how can I figure out a way to use this as a weapon to destroy Russia or China, as opposed to seeing it like going to Mars, colonizing Mars, or going to the moon originally. There is some competitive element, but mostly it's a human pursuit of understanding and human pursuit of overcoming our limited knowledge to sort of unlock mysteries of this universe. From a physics perspective, from an engineering perspective, I would release all the information I have and release it in a way that gets the Neil deGrasse Tyson folks in the loop. So it's almost like an inspiring effort for us as a humanity to understand what the hell this thing is versus let's keep it secret and see if we can use it as a weapon.
Well, I appreciate that you think that way because you're a scientist and you're thinking about it in a very positive way to try to expand our education and our understanding of this thing, and maybe we could use it for good. But you got to realize that anything that surpasses any and all technologies that we currently enjoy in terms of fighter pilots and jets and military superiority, if there's something that just is above and beyond all, if everybody has a Model T and you have a Ferrari, or better yet, you have a Tesla, you have a Model S, and everybody's got a Model T, you're in a race. Like, you have something that is so far above and beyond what everybody else has. It's not really a fair race. It's a joke. You'll dominate. If you have a Model T and the other person has a Tesla and you're racing and the winner gets to decide who has all the food, who gets all the women, who lives in the nice house, like, you're going to win every fucking time, right? Now, if you have a UFO, if you have a spaceship that comes from another planet where they're 1,000,000 years more advanced than us. They've had 1,000,000 years of evolution and technological evolution, dealing with elements that are common on their planet that have to be created on a particle collider here, and they only exist for a brief amount of time. If they have something like that that's powered by something that we can't even imagine, and you figure out how to use that here on Earth, you'll have technological superiority over every other civilization,
but
every
here's the
other
thing.
country.
In that technological superiority, it's so funny us chimps are like still talking about our village. We want our village to
Yes.
be better than the next village. When there's an alien civilization that's 1,000,000 years more advanced,
Right.
that can easily destroy us if it wanted to,
Right.
or actually understands the nature of existence in this universe on levels that are like we chimps talk about like meditation and finding inner peace. Like it understands on such a deeper level, like the nature of consciousness, the nature of intelligence, the meaning of life, all that weird stuff that we're so obsessed with. It understands at another level. And here we are thinking about what the Russians are doing versus like understanding that mystery. I think in the face of that mystery of something that's far more intelligent than us, I think we can't. It's a ridiculous notion to think we're anything but one human village. And in terms of weapons, because you said like get all the girls or whatever, I think the weapons thing is the key thing. And we already, at least the major nations, have all the weapons we need to destroy each other. It's like we don't need extra weapons. I mean, it feels like your hypothesis would be like if an alien technology was here and we'd figure it out, we'd be able to have something that destroys other chimp villages an order of magnitude more efficiently than nuclear weapons, thereby having an asymmetrical, sort of from a game theory perspective, power over other nations. And we can tell China what to do. We can tell Russia what to do. That's the perspective from which they're thinking. I'm
not even saying that they're thinking that way. I'm thinking a human would think that if they had control of this vehicle. I'm not saying that the aliens would think this way. I'm thinking also that we are constantly innovating. When you talk to people that are designing jets and planes and fighter pilots, and they're talking about new systems that they've created and new weapons, they don't just sit back and say we have enough weapons to destroy Russia and China and the rest of the world combined, so we're just going to stop. This is not how human beings innovate. Human beings are in this constant state of wanting the newest, greatest innovations. We want to improve upon every single existing invention until we hit some sort of singularity point or whatever the fuck we're striving for as a culture. And that would be that propulsion system. If you do really have something that can go from 60,000 feet to 1 foot in less than a second, you're dealing with something that we don't understand. We can't do that right now. And if you could figure out how to do that and propel people that quickly, it would be a game changer. Now, how much of a game changer? What does that mean? Well, we're in this weird place where we kind of agree to not use our best weapons, right? Like when there's a face-off between the United States jets and a Russian jet, and they come close to each other, like over China or something like that. It's weird because we're not shooting at each other, but we're real close. And even the missiles that we have, they're not nuclear. Like but we're involved in a skirmish with another country. But we don't use all our weapons. Like if we approached war the way people approached war in the Middle Ages, we would just nuke the fuck out of everybody that talks shit, right? Yeah. Anybody, what did China just say? What did they just say? Fucking launch those missiles. Fuck those people.
Instead of Twitter, it'd be nukes. Yeah.
Exactly. So we're already in this place where we don't use our best stuff. So if we had something that made us fly better and fly faster, the real question is, how much would that change the world? I don't know how much it would. If we got in control of some UFO and we're able to get to China quicker, how much of a difference would that make in terms of like the way they responded to our military? We're in this position now where there's multiple countries that have the ability to destroy other countries. There's Iran has some sort of a nuclear program. Pakistan has a nuclear program. India has a nuclear program. Of course, the United States, Russia, China. There's many countries that have the ability to fucking wipe out huge numbers of the population like that. Just launch. Just one crazy, psychotic leader who just decides to just listen. We're gonna fucking make our mark here. Everybody together on 1, 2, 3, go. Boom. My real worry is that it doesn't matter what we think is right. That technology always goes towards innovation. It always goes towards improvements. It always goes towards technology advancing where it's more effective, more available, easier, better, cheaper, faster. This is what we always do. This is what we've done with every single thing we've ever invented. And it's got to happen with that as well.
But I think the difference between our position is that you think the march of technology is completely inevitable and that there's nothing we can do to kind of shape it or stop it. It's just going to happen. Whereas I think none of this is inevitable. And I think human beings are capable of, adapting and changing without technology. And like this year is a really good example of this, that we're all waiting for a vaccine. The vaccine has not arrived. And so we've kind of saved ourselves by changing our behavior in a kind of altruistic way by staying at home, even though like we might not get sick with coronavirus, or wearing masks for other people's benefit. I think human beings are really adaptable, and we can adapt by changing our behavior rather than relying on technology. And this march of technology only exists if we continue to always think that technology is the solution. People have to make this stuff, and people have to buy this stuff in order for it to march on. And we always have the power to say, you know what, I don't want it.
I think reasonable people like yourself, yes, that's going to happen. But clearly you've seen videos of spring break in Fort Lauderdale where kids are making out half naked on the beach. Nobody gives a fuck about coronavirus. And then there's maps that show the spread of them leaving Florida and going all through the rest of the country, and then all these infections that show up there.
Totally, but there's a critical mass of, there's enough people that are being reasonable, that when those things happen, it's really shit and people get ill, but it's not the end of the world. That's the point. I think most people are reasonable and are able to behave in a kind of way where the good kind of wins out.
I think I agree with you on a lot of these things. However, when I look at human beings, I try to look at human beings as if I was from another planet, if I was an alien, and I looked at them without any connection to the way they think or behave or their culture. And I said, well, what do these things do? Well, this is what they do. They make technology. All they do is make technology. They're obsessed with materialism, which plays into technology. It plays into this want and need for the bigger, better, faster, greater thing that comes around every year, and that's what fuels them to work every day. They go to work and they toil, and one of the things they reward themselves with is the newest, greatest thing. And this is the fuel for this technological growth, and this technological growth appears unstoppable because it seems like that's all the human animal does. If you looked at it from afar objectively, all I'm seeing is a constant wave of technology.
But I don't think that's true, because we don't just make technology. We also talk to each other and we communicate like you and I are now, and we have discussions, and we are capable of incredible change, and that we could live in a world where, it was okay to keep slaves and impregnate your wife every year and keep her in the kitchen. But through having these discussions, we can really, really change the way we live very drastically from one generation to the next. It's not just technology. It's also what defines a human being is that we use technology and that we're social animals. And those are two different things. And the idea that the technological advancement is always going to win out isn't necessarily one I buy.
I'm not saying it's going to win out. I don't think it's going to win out. I think it's inevitable. And I think we're going to...
But they're both inevitable. And as a society, we can make change just as much as we can make change by using technology.
Yeah, that is the fascinating balance, right? I mean, most people today are aware that they're addicted to their cell phones, yet most people still use their cell phones. We're aware that it's harming us, but yet we still use them because we just, it's just a phone. No big deal. But it's a big deal. Everybody, I know it's a big deal. I know I check my messages too much, but yet I still check my messages too much. and I'm aware of it, and I've read a lot of books about it.
But I think if you thought it was harming you enough, if you
Mm.
thought it was destroying your brain cells, you wouldn't.
Right.
The point is, it's about how you weigh up harm, and you think, yeah, I should probably be doing other things, or I shouldn't be constantly checking the Twitter feed of that person I hate. That's bad for my soul, but you still do it because it's bad for your soul, but only a little bit. And if it was really, really corrosive and bad, then you would stop. I mean,
yeah,
people
maybe
so
if
much.
you're a healthy person, or maybe you're one of those people that likes to pick scabs, and you just keep scratching. That's possible too.
Yeah.
I'm worried for people. I really genuinely am, and this is as a person who enjoys people. I don't know how much time we have left as in this form. Like when I look at the archetypal alien, when you see those little gray men with the big heads, I'm worried that what that is like we instinctively know that that's our future, that we're going to be these genderless weird things that reproduce through some sort of some sort of technology instead of these bizarre, imperfect biological creatures with emotions that you and I both enjoy so much because of all the weirdness. I mean, my whole business, everything I do is about the weirdness of people, whether it's stand-up comedy, whether it's podcasts, or even fighting. When I do commentary on fighting, that's all the weirdness and imperfect nature of the human animal. And I think it's awesome. I mean, I love people. Don't get me wrong. I'm not rooting for technology to do this. But I see the writing on the wall. It's not pretty.
Well, the thing is, it's all about the richness of the human experience, what makes it interesting to be human, which isn't just the basic functions of our life or basic logic. The fact that we have art galleries everywhere and music, music, which is completely illogical.
Yes.
It's because there's more to being human than those basic functions. I mean, when you talk about, sexless aliens reproducing without sex, like that kind of stuff is going to happen quite soon. And I looked into quite a lot of this. That we can make like gametes, we can make cells. They can do this in mice. You can make sperm and eggs out of cheek cells. So you could make an egg out of your cheek cell and sperm. There'll be a future where people can make sperm and egg, whichever one they need for whichever relationship they're in, and that you can grow a baby outside the human body. Ooh. And we will become less and less gendered. That is going to happen.
Yeah.
The end of sex for reproduction is quite possible, that we will just have sex for fun and then we'll do babies in this kind of very controlled way. But we're always going to be weird human beings. We're always going to like strange things, like dancing around to music, all the stuff that can't be explained. And the drive to be weird and the drive to be illogical is very, very powerful. And I just think I'm not so deterministic about stuff. And when I was like doing all the work for my book, I was quite worried it was going to be really depressing because, in a book like mine, like you come to a conclusion where it's like, well, there's a future where women might be obsolete, where we can be replaced by robots and artificial uteruses, and, misogynist men can live without us, or, all of these things that are really dark and worrying. But that's to buy a particular view of human nature as being a kind of slave to whatever comes next. And we're too kind of weird and idiosyncratic, I think, to be done away with that easily.
I had a thought once while I was under the influence, and it was a thought that one day computational powers will reach a point where they will be able to take into consideration all of the objects on Earth and what we know about the history, and vividly recreate the past through computation, to the point where you could actually know who did what, when people did things. And that, I mean, I don't even know if this would be physical. Today, certainly not be possible. But with the exponential increase in computational power and technology and innovation, that one day we'll reach a point where you'll be able to watch, you'll be able to see what happened, and they'll be able to recreate what happened exactly. And that this would be something that would be, I mean, it's impossible for us to imagine that someone would be able to do that right now.
Yeah.
But that one day with technology, as it gets more and more advanced, we will reach some sort of some innovation or some sort of an invention that will allow us to go back and literally see what happened, how things were done.
Technology is changing our whole understanding of the past, and what you're envisaging is perfectly possible. We will come to a time, if we
100
don't,
years, 500 years.
perhaps less, if we don't, first destroy ourselves entirely as a civilization, we will come to a time where our cleverness and our techniques will allow a much wider opening up of the past than has presently happened. But it is already happening. One of the areas of science that I go into in America before is genetics and DNA. This is an area of science that was not much informing archaeology until about the 1990s, but since the 2000s has become very important in archaeology because the technology has been developed where ancient DNA can be extracted and tested, and you can actually genotype an entire individual from DNA that may be 15, 20,000 years old. And this new technology of genome sequencing and DNA is another factor that is raising huge question marks over the past of the Americas. And one of the issues I go into in this book is the presence in the Amazon rainforest of a very specific, clearly identifiable pattern of DNA, which is only found in one other place in the world, and that is in Australasia, in Papua New Guinea, and amongst Australian Aborigines. It's Australasian DNA. Now,
in South America.
Not only in South America, but in the depths of the Amazon rainforest, amongst tribes who've only been contacted in the last 20 or 30 years. And furthermore, although skeletal remains are rare, it has been found in ancient skeletal remains that are close to 11,000 years old in the Amazon. So that tells us that this DNA signal has been in the Amazon for at least 11,000 years. The geneticists think that it came to the Amazon during the last ice age. And this raises a huge mystery because the peopling of the Americas is supposed to have occurred from Siberia, across the Bering Straits, down through that ice-free corridor into North America, down through North America, into South America, into Central America, and finally into South America. If that was the whole story, then we would find this DNA signal in North America and in Central America. We would not find it only in the Amazon. When I talked to some of the leading geneticists about this, specifically Professor Eske Willerslev at the University of Copenhagen, who's been the lead author in a number of major studies of ancient DNA. And I asked him, what do you make of this Australasian DNA in the Amazon? And he said, honestly, we don't have a proper explanation for it at the moment. But what he did say is that the most parsimonious explanation, he used that specific word, the most parsimonious explanation is that a group of people during the Ice Age crossed the Pacific Ocean and settled up and ended up in South America and settled in the Amazon and brought their DNA with them. That would account perfectly for the DNA data. And when a scientist says the most parsimonious explanation, what that scientist is saying is he likes that explanation, that it's a simple, direct, clear explanation of the DNA mystery. But then he added, however, it doesn't make practical sense. And I asked him, well, why doesn't it make practical sense? And he said, because the archaeologists tell me that no human population was capable of crossing the Pacific Ocean during the Ice Age, at which point it was natural for me to say, do you really trust the archaeologists? And he said, well, in science, we do trust the work of other scientists. We don't really question it. We don't really investigate it. That's their side of the business. And my view is that is rather than taking this weird, anomalous Australasian DNA signal in the heart of the Amazon as something to be explained away and as something to be for it to be denied that it could be connected to a voyage across the Pacific Ocean. Maybe it's the first compelling evidence that voyages were taking place across the Pacific Ocean during the Ice Age. And maybe we should be opening up that whole issue for exploration. And again, I think a lost civilization is the best answer. And that near the end of the Ice Age, when the Younger Dryas cataclysm unfolds, it's not an overnight thing. It's very bad 12,800 years ago. There's about 1,200 years of horror. I don't think the civilization went down in a single day and night. I think there were survivors. I think bits of it were left. I think their project was to restart civilization. And I suggest very strongly that where they tried to mount that project was amongst the hunter-gatherers who coexisted in the world with them at that time. We ourselves are an advanced civilization. at least that's what we call ourselves, and we coexist in the world with hunter-gatherers. It's not an odd idea that an advanced civilization and hunter-gatherers should coexist, and there is separation between us and the Amazonian hunter-gatherers. There are tribes in the Amazon that are uncontacted and that we don't know even exist. If a catastrophe on the level of the Younger Dryas were to occur today, I don't think that our civilization would make it through. We are the spoilt children of the earth. We are just used to having everything laid on. You know, the supermarket shelves are groaning with food. We can get food delivered to our homes. We have roofs over our head. We have shelters. We have clothing. Everything is taken for granted. I guess you're an exception, but very few people in modern Western culture know how to survive. They don't have survival skills. They don't know how to hunt. They don't know how to gather. They don't know how to grow crops because they've handed that responsibility over to others. We live in a society that's highly segmented and specialized, and different people specialize in different things, but nobody has the vast general survival skill that a hunter-gatherer has. So in a global cataclysm, actually, at first counterintuitively, the people who would survive it would be the hunter-gatherers. And an advanced civilization would be smart, if they were survivors, to seek refuge amongst hunter-gatherers, to make that the place where they might try to restart their civilization. And that's why I think that this Australasian DNA signal in the Amazon may be part of the evidence for a sort of outreach effort that was being made by a lost civilization, seeing the disaster coming down on it and realizing that something needed to be done.
What is your perspective after the incident versus before the incident? Like, how much did it change the way you view the world and our place in the world?
For me, I never believed that we were alone. It's just me. I just look up and go, there's way too many stars up there for us to be in
Right.
one life. After it, it makes it a little more clear to go, one, my questions are, where'd it come from? That's the biggest one. Where'd it come from? What was it doing? And then I've asked, why me? I mean, why did I happen to be, because you can say wrong place, wrong time.
Right. Or right place, right time.
Or right place, right time. For me, it was, I think there's more out there. And if I could get word out to anyone, it's like, especially the debunkers of, one, quit trying to debunk it because it is what it is. There wasn't a system glitch. This was a real incident that happened. And number two is let's open our aperture a little bit and start thinking outside of the box. If you go, you look at it and go, hey, it's this non-reactive propulsion. Well, it's because when we came up with propulsion, we the people long before us came up with a reactionary propulsion system, and that became our standard. Had we done something different where we developed non-reaction, we might look at something like a gasoline engine and go, holy cow, how's that thing work?
Right.
We wouldn't have that idea. So, I think there's, if you look at it and go, people thought Einstein was kind of nuts, and we're still proving his theories today. And what we're learning is that he was right. And he was right. There was a time when the earth was flat, except for some people in California, the earth isn't flat, it's round.
It's not just people in California. They're all over the place.
There's not an ice wall.
Right.
So when you look at that and you go, a lot of the stuff that we thought was true isn't true. It's totally been changed. So for me, I just say, I think let's get outside of the box and go, if we can develop a technology that would, and I don't look at it from a military standpoint, because it would be a game changer from a military standpoint. Technology like that would be a game changer for mankind, completely. I mean, it would literally, everything that we do, and we don't know exactly, you could, do you want that system in a car? People have
Right.
trouble driving in 2 dimensions, let alone 3.
Right.
It's kind of like your joke last night. I mean, you can't even handle the vaping thing, let alone driving a car that goes up, down, works in 3 dimensions.
Well, that was what they originally wanted helicopters to be. They wanted to be flying cars.
Yeah, if you get out on the road, you see how people drive. I'm like,
Yeah.
And I always laugh because people think, well, we're 3-dimensional. Like, we know that this table is not the floor, but really humans are 2-dimensional people. And you learn that, especially when we would fight, if you can really work in the 3rd dimension, which is up, and you go, well, we are 3-dimensional. I go, no, if you look at like a tall building is, 1,700 feet high, the big ones. And you go, no, for an F-18 to do a split S, which is go from up here and just do a vertical 180-degree turn, so you're going this way and you go down here. It's like 2,500 feet. And that's tight. That's a tight turn for a jet. You know, unless you're running like vectored thrust stuff, but everything has a cost. So if you do some big Hayaka, you bleed off energy. There's a cost associated with that. That to a pilot, that's 3 dimensions. To most people on Earth, you go, no, I look at a hill and go, I don't want to walk up that thing.
Right.
You know, and in an airplane, it's a totally different thing. So if we just open up that expanse, you know, for what we're trying to do for technology and go, is there another way? Because we still build suckers and blowers, which is a jet engine. We just refine the internals, the turbines, to get them to be more efficient. Where I go, why don't you just put your efforts someplace else? Like I was talking to, there's a whole realm of physics that really doesn't get explained, and it's. I was talking to Steve Justice about it. It's more into the magnetics type side that we don't spend a lot of time on. And I know he said when he was working at Skunk Works, he did it's called IRAD, Internal Research and Development money, that he would fund to try and look at some of these other technologies for propulsion. And you know, he's now since retired, but really impressive to talk to him at the level that you can, which is, you know, for us would be an unclassified level. But you know, the stuff that goes on behind closed doors, there's reasons for it. You know, because if a technology like that got out where someone could rapidly reproduce it after all you've done, you know, or they got it first. You think of the atomic bomb, you know, Germans almost had it. We got it. Russians were working on it. We got it first. Changed the world. Literally changed the world when we detonated the first one. And you go, I'm not going to get into the politics behind it, but now we had it, and now it was the race everyone else because they had to get on equal par because it's a destabilizing thing. And now all of a sudden, if you develop a technology like this and you keep it to yourself, you've got something that no one else has, and it's a huge leap. I mean, it's a quantum leap. Do you share it because it's a mankind thing, or do you keep it for yourself? You know, and that's right now. It's not for me to decide. I'm just Dave.
Well, it's fascinating that some other method of propulsion could have been established in some other place.
Yeah.
And that we're experiencing it, or that you've experienced it, and some other folks have experienced it in action. And I just think for us as people, as human beings in 2019, it's really easy to think that what we have now is so amazing, and that what we have now is the pinnacle of discovery, and that what we have now is, with our electricity and with our LED screens, and that we are experiencing like the height of technology. When if you're some creature from some other planet that is got easy access to element 115 and some gravity propulsion system, you're looking at us like we're digging holes in the side of a mountain to protect ourselves from the rain. We're cave people.
Yes.
Yeah.
We do that here on Earth.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at like a first world, you know, like the United States,
Sure.
or, you know, the developed nations. And then you go to some of these other and go, you know, people are still getting their water out of a hole in the ground with a bucket.
Right. Or people in the rainforest that are living these indigenous lifestyles. Yeah.
So, you know, take them something. I mean, take them one of these flat screens down to one of these tribes that no one's ever seen, and go, hey, look.
Yeah.
And start showing them pictures of themselves that you're shooting real time, or video that's feeding directly
Right.
into it. They'll freak out.
They'll think it's
like,
magic.
Would you capture my soul?
Right.
So it's where are we at, and what are we going to do, and what can we do?
Did it change the way you look at life? I mean, even though you knew that, or you had this feeling that we were not alone just from looking at the stars, but when you actually see the thing, like how, I mean, I would imagine that has got to really shift your perspective.
I don't know if it shifted my perspective, but it was more of it's a validation.
A confirmation.
To go, yeah, you know, I've always like, yeah, all right, there's a lot of stars. And then you see something like this and go, well, maybe we're not. Because that pushes you to the next point to go, you know, if one lands in my front yard, then I'll be 100% sure that we are not alone because it's sitting in my front yard. But, I mean, I got within a half mile of this thing, which is, people go, well, a half mile is pretty far away. Again, not when you're flying an airplane. Half mile is like really tight.
When they bring you in to have these conversations with high-level government officials, how long are these conversations?
So I went to I've talked to 3 different groups of people.
This is post the New York Times article? So the New York Times article comes out in 2017.
Yes.
And then our government.
The other pilot that was involved had been to D.C. multiple times. This is how I got in touch with Lou. She had called me and said, hey, I need to talk to you. So I called her and I said, what's going on? She says, hey, has anyone called you about the Tic Tac? And I said, no. She goes, I've been to the Pentagon like a half dozen times, and they'll take me in and anywhere from Starbucks to, inside of a vault. And she goes, and they'll talk to me about the story, and then they'll show me a picture. Something goes to look like this. And then she gets pretty frustrated and goes, we call it the Tic Tac because it looked like a Tic Tac. What part don't you get? I mean, go get a thing of Tic Tacs and look at them.
When they're saying, did it look like this, are they showing actual crafts that they have?
No, not pictures that they have, but like a video from someone else. Like they'd show the gimbal video. Hey, did it look like this?
Okay.
And it was no. So, and that's when I told her, I said, well, just tell this guy that you're talking to, just give him my name and number. I go, I'll talk to him. It's not a big deal to me. And that started. So when I got asked, multiple times to go down and talk to people, one of them was supposed to be 20 minutes. And these are important people. Getting 20 minutes of some of these folks' time is like, that's a huge deal. So we went in thinking, okay, we're going to do the thing, 20 minutes, and then we're in. And an hour and a half later, we came out. I mean, that's the interest of, and there were some, you get the group, the folks that come in and out. But there's a few that just sat there and were enamored by what we were saying. Like, you're joking. We're like, no, this is all real. I mean, these are pretty senior officials that are taking the time out of their day to take this serious, to go, maybe we do need to put a little emphasis on this. I mean, if literally if something can just show up at will and do whatever it wants, and I'd probably at least pay attention.
Yeah, pay attention. But what could be done? I mean, what could they do? If you put yourself in a position of one of these high-level government officials, what do you do? Just spend more money on looking at them?
Well, if you look at money, though, I mean, I know when the article came out and they talked about the ATIP program that Harry Reid got funded $22 million over 5 years. So it's $4.4 million a year. And you go, everyone's freaking out. Oh, it's $22 million. I go, no, it wasn't $22 million a year. It was $4.4 million. That's not even in the rounding error for the United States. We just got approved, it was $750 billion for a defense budget. $750 billion. If you took $100 million out of that, it's not even going to put a dent. And I go, why can't you? If you're only spending $4.4 million a year, and you can actually get some good work done, because you don't need a huge team, because you figure if you look at, I think what's the number, like 10-15% of all these UFOs, like if you look at Project Blue Book, really remained unexplained. And you go, okay, so you can weed out, you can read out me flying over someone in a campfire and lighting my afterburners. So you can go, no, that was Dave being Dave. So you can weed that stuff out. Now you go, now I'm really kind of concentrating the funds. The most important thing, and I talked to the folks when we were talking, because we talked about funding, and I said, let me leave you with this. And I had got some pretty good stuff. I was talking to Chris Mellon, who's a former undersecretary and understands how the government works. So it was where he gave me some really good feedback. And I talked to him. I said, look, I'm all for you guys funding a program. But what you need to do is fund a program that there's going to be oversight over. And when I say oversight, I mean, because what happens is you go, here's money, but we're going to distribute it in the government. So we're going to distribute it to these 3 different agencies across the United States government. So, I don't just call them agency A, B, and C. So you give it to them, and I'll go back to like the 9/11 stuff where we really had the answer, but all the agencies weren't talking to each other to put all the pieces together. And that's my fear, that you go, hey, we're going to take $100 million of taxpayer money. We're going to fund a program to actually seriously investigate this stuff and look at the technology. But there are 3 different entities working on their own and not talking to each other. So there's got to be a joint collaboration to where we go, we're going to do it, but, Joe's going to be in charge, and you guys are all going to play nice in the sandbox together, because we want to get our money's worth, because people will raise the fraud, waste, and abuse flag that we're wasting money on something stupid.
Great. I'm glad that people are seeing me.
Neil Brennan signing.
As witness, everyone will be a notary public.
I wonder if they can. There's a software that can listen to the sound your pen is making and figure out the lines you're drawing. They have technology now where when people are speaking in a room with a window,
they can get rid of the window noise.
They can tune into the vibrations of the window from the sound of your voice and pick up everything that's being said in the room.
I heard that there's a Netflix, because before, Netflix doesn't give people ratings, but there's a way that they can gauge reflections off of some weird fucking technology and it's fairly accurate.
Reflections off of windows?
Yes, I don't.
This is
secondhand. Yeah, like secondhand. Not. It's like, I believe it's sound waves.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
What are they monitoring? Jamie's got something.
I have no idea.
What do you
Jamie.
got,
We
Jamie?
can buy this right now if you want.
Jamie.
Long-range laser listening device. The long-range laser listening device, laser microscope, is a highly sophisticated surveillance apparatus that utilizes an invisible infrared laser beam to eavesdrop on a target. This is the most effective long-range laser listening device in the world that allows the operator to conduct an undetectable surveillance operation on any targeted
From
room
Tony Stark Industries.
with at least one window at an impressive distance of over 500 meters. That is actually very
That's
impressive.
far.
That's far as shit with the laser beam. Fuck. And you can just buy that?
As I say, that's commercially available, and I wonder what is not commercially available.
Oh, for
that
sure.
is
Right.
out there.
Like, you remember when there was that story about some weird sound weapon they think that the Cubans
Yeah.
were using on Americans that were in Cuba? There's probably a bunch of shit like that.
I was reading an article. They can list like submarines have technology. They can listen to basically like fish farting in the ocean if they wanted to. They can hear sounds that quiet. They can hear anything. So if like literally a fish farts, they're like, oh, what was that? What was that? Was that a sub? Nope, it was a fish. Next.
Wow.
Like what was the next sound? Yeah.
Good for us or something.
I guess.
Good for somebody.
Good for us, I guess.
Yeah, the sound thing was funny because it was like people would get sick
Yeah.
and they could. And then there was also, they did it in China too. There were like, at American civil, like like non-government, or like kind of work for the government tangentially, or they worked at the embassy. Their apartments were above each other, two separate people, and both of them. It was on 60 Minutes, like not long ago. Like,
So they targeted the rooms.
yeah,
It's like a dog whistle for people.
yes, in essence. And it's like, well, what do you want me to do? I guess you just leave. I guess it is like a dog whistle. Where
Yeah,
it's
they
just
just want you to feel like shit.
disperse. Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here. Yeah, there's probably a ton of technology like that we're not aware of. My friend Mike Swick used to fight in the UFC, and before that, he did a brief stint in the military. He was doing something, some sort of it was either Secret Service work or something along those lines. But anyway, he was at the embassy in Russia. And he said that they had found listening devices that were so sophisticated that they were being powered by the natural sway of the building.
Wow.
With the wind. So the wind, they didn't need a power source. The natural swaying of the building in the wind was powering up this little microphone that was listening in on things. And he said they were looking at this stuff. And they're like, we don't know anything like this. Like, this is completely new stuff, and we found it in this building.
I mean, I don't love, but it's like, it's
kind of cool.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't kill me or us. You know what I mean? Like, the hope is we just they have their thing and we have, and it's just like mutually assured destruction, like an arms race of technology. Because that's what's going to happen. The amount, do you use the cloud?
Yes. I know. Yeah.
Like,
I don't use it for important stuff.
Yeah.
But I use it for like my apps.
yeah.
You know, my apps are backed up in the cloud. Recordings are backed up in the cloud. Sets that I'm
Yeah,
doing.
but
notes,
there's like
notes are backed up.
photos or video. It's just a bit
Not
like,
much.
I don't know, man.
It's fucking crazy. I mean, we're getting down to some very strange place with the cloud, with stuff being just in the air.
And the amount of trust it takes, the presumption that we'll just never run out of energy and we'll never run out of the ability to tap into the cloud is like, that seems presumption. I'm not even like a doomsday person, but I just feel like it's like the difference between how men dress in public and how women dress. Like on a night out, women are wearing heels and guys are dressed in case they have to fight. I'm still like, we will do the thing in the mirror. We're like, I'll fuck you up. And like, that's how I feel with technology, where I'm like, what, do I have a backup plan for this? Even people with like Wi-Fi door locks, I'm like, I don't know, man.
I don't know, man.
I don't know.
Not good. If the Wi-Fi goes out, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, like, please be careful. I don't know what the negative scenario is, but even my garage at my place, and I live in like a townhouse thing, and there was a power outage, the gate won't open, and like,
there's no release.
there was a release that somebody, a better person than I, figured out. You know what I mean? Like, I was just like, no, I can't come. I was like, hello, Uber. I didn't have a fucking plan, but someone figured out, like, you open a hatch and then there's a chain and you got to pull the chain. And it was like, okay, but it wasn't. It wasn't easy.
Right.
Like it's the doomsday thing. It's like,
Well, this guy, Graham Hancock.
yeah,
This guy's been on my show several times. He was just on recently, and he's one of the main proponents of this theory that something somewhere around 12,800 years ago hit the Earth and fucked up everything and probably reset civilization, killed off the vast majority of us.
12,000 years ago. That's not that long ago.
Years, not
Yeah.
that long ago at all.
No.
It corresponds with the end of the Ice Age. There's a lot of physical evidence for it. And increasingly, we're seeing more and more evidence in terms of ancient cultures that existed far before 12,800 years ago that they really didn't understand. They thought people were just hunter-gatherers back then. Now they're finding evidence of things like there's a place called Göbekli Tepe, which is these huge monolithic structures that are made out of stone, carved like huge columns that don't seem like they were made by hunter-gatherers. It seems like there was probably some sort of a lost civilization, and they know that this all happened somewhere around that time, somewhere around 12,000 years ago. So it can happen again. And if it does happen again, all our stuff is on digital now, which is even weirder. It's weirder than books, right? We have books, but the vast majority of most of the data that we all keep and share, we share on phones and on computers.
Yeah.
And we can't read it. We can't read it without programs.
I don't know
without
the
software.
first thing about. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know anything about.
Now people going to be ready and quick to just second guess anything that you say.
Yeah, that's a fact. Until we can read each other's minds, until we can find out for sure. That's going to change the whole game.
Being able to read somebody's mind?
Yeah.
That's definitely going to eliminate a lot of street fights.
Most of them.
I mean, you talk about your imminent danger senses are going to be 100% if you can read somebody's mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if I would want to do that.
I do.
I like having
I'm in.
secrets.
I'm all in. I like having secrets too, but I like going all in. I think all in. I think it's just inevitable. We were talking about it in the last podcast about there's something they're going to be able to shoot into your neck. What did he say? The way he described it?
Like an injection that will take over, sort of.
Well, but the way it interacts with your brain cells.
Thread.
Thread itself into your brain cells. So literally like I think we're going to have built-in Wi-Fi internet systems where we're connected to each other's heads.
So this is what people request, or it's like a study they're going to try out on people? Or you could just go to your doctor and say, shoot me with the brain shit.
I think eventually it's going to be shoot me with the brain shit. First, you got to get it on a clinical trial.
Right.
First, you got to be willing to be
Well, who do you get for that? Like heroin addicts or crackheads? Who do you get for that? Like, who is close to no brain cells and shit? And that's the one we tried on.
What was that movie? There was a movie where a dude got shot and they put some chip in his back.
Upgrade. I believe.
Upgrade, yeah. And it did that to him. It turned to be like had access to all the information. He knew martial arts. He knew how to move. And everything was happening like he was basically like a supercomputer inside of a person that could do everything.
Artificial intelligence is right down the line.
Dude, they're talking about this shit, shooting it into your brain. We're going to share a network. We're all going to be on a network.
Well, there's going to be a lot of white people joining that effort because black people don't fuck with needles, bruh. We don't do none of that. Unless it's heroin, we don't take out needles like that, bruh.
I'm telling you say that, but how many athletes are on steroids?
Yeah, but that's a different animal. I'm talking about the average black dude.
I know. That's
Brooklyn,
true.
Brownsville, or Watts or something like that. Yo, I got this new brain shit we injected through a needle. They gonna fuck you up. They don't want to hear that shit.
That's hilarious. And that's probably true. I mean, how many people are going to try that? Like, who's going to be the earliest adopter of getting a shot in your neck that lets you read everybody's mind?
And then what are you going to do with it? It's an interesting thing.
It's going to fuck our job up, man. Because, like, half of what we do is say shocking shit that people know is kind of true, but you can't believe you're saying it.
And then you'll have people in the audience like, oh, not the old went to the subway joke coming up. If you could do that, that'd be the ultimate fucking joke hater right there. Oh, yeah. Two guys walking the bar. You don't got anything other than that? Nah, I think I'll have to pass on that. Keep it raw.
Yeah, it's going to be weird.
When would you get it? Like, would you want to be the first comedian to have it?
No. You almost want to be a fool who doesn't have it. If you want to be a comedian, yeah.
I want to watch other motherfuckers do it first.
Yeah. Oh,
I'll sit in the back.
But the problem is they're going to fucking take over, like, finances, like, instantly. They're going to, as soon as they upload their brain, they're like, I'm just going to get all this money. I'm going to figure out a way to get all this fucking money. And then by the time you shoot it into your head, they've already got the system locked down.
But see, you have different level of people that you hang out with because your level be like, well, how are we going to get the money, but my level be like, yo, we got this brain shit. How we gonna get some ass off of this, dog?
You can get it. You'll be more
If
clever.
you can read a broad mind, you get all the ass you want.
all of it. Yeah, you would know. But then it wouldn't be fun. Like half the fun is not knowing if somebody likes you. Right. You don't know what's going to happen here. Is this going to work out? And then you fought Connor when you were like, what were you, 20 or 21?
I think I was 21 or 21. I think he's 23 or whatever. I think he's 2 or 3 years older than me. 3 years older than me.
Yeah.
So I think if he was 24, then I was 22 or something, 21.
So that was your last loss, and then you went on a crazy streak.
Yeah.
You went on a crazy winning streak.
Yeah. Yeah, it was crazy, you know, like when you see like Connor doing stuff, like I'm a big believer in things happen for a reason, you know. Before that, we had I actually remember talking to you after my first one was Bermudez, when I fought Bermudez. And that was a tough fight. I remember I ran into you at where we fought, MGM. And you was leaving. You was going back home to LA or wherever you was going, and I saw you at the elevators, and he was like, "Oh, keep your head up, kid." So I thought you did enough, and I was like, "Yeah, it is what it is." He's like, "Yeah, you be back though for sure." And then after that, we fought Connor, and then those two fights really meant a lot at that time in my career, because it just made me like realize like how much I really gotta buckle down. I really had to do something. I really had to find something. I didn't have a striking coach until
Really?
I had my first coach that I started with. Like when I got into the UFC, was no longer, and I'm with I ended up doing jiu-jitsu with Rylan Lazares, the coach I'm with now. He's been ever since UFC, a little bit before my UFC fights too. And then I never had a striking coach for Dustin. Then we went on 4, and then we went on 2. So whatever the 1, 5, 6, 7. My first 7 fights in the UFC.
So what did you do for striking?
You really want to know what I did?
Yeah.
You know the UFC game? I would use Renan Barral and Jose Aldo, and I would do stuff with them. I'd be like, oh yeah, this works in the game. So my friend at the time, Dustin Kimura, he would kind of hold mitts for me, and I'd be like, look, I tried this in the game and it was working. Let's try it. And we did it. I figured it out from freaking UFC, the regular UFC game, the first ever UFC game.
What?
Yeah, with Renan Barral.
You would watch the video game.
I would play the video game and be like, oh, look at this. I would try combination. I'd be like, oh yeah, this kind of works. So let's try it. Why not? It got me that far.
That is so ridiculous. Wow. So then you realized you had to do something different after the Bermudez loss?
Not the Bermudez loss. Like the Bermudez loss, we was trying to find a striking coach and this and that, and then the Connor loss, we was like, yeah, we gotta get this shit going. You know, my coach did, Rylan. Rylan was like, man, I'm gonna pull somebody in, and then he brought in the guy that I work with now, Ivan Flores, my striking coach, and
he lives on the island as well?
Yeah, he lives on the island. We all in one gym now. We're all together.
That's great.
Yeah, so it's like super easy now.
It made a giant difference, obviously.
Humongous difference. You saw it, like big difference.
What does your brother say now?
Yeah.
Oh, that ha 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 ha! What does he say now? You're the greatest featherweight of all time.
Yeah.
What does he say now?
Nothing. You know, I just
He can't say shit.
Yeah, let go. Yeah.
Do you ever say, "Hey, man, you remember?"
Yeah, I always, all the time. Yeah, I'm not gonna let you forget that. Come on, I'm not gonna let you forget that.
It's kind of hilarious, right?
It's
you think
funny.
about your younger brother telling you he's going to be a UFC fighter.
Yeah.
And he turns out to be one of the all-time greats. And you're mocking him. You're like, yeah, you're going to be a fighter, bro.
Yeah, he's
good
like,
luck.
Yeah, he said this is the exact what he said. He said, yeah, good luck with that. He's like, you should start looking into colleges or some type of state job. And I was like, nah, you just watch, you just wait.
Wow. Talk about like calling it. But that's one of those things, like someone tells it to you, like I'm going to be a UFC champion. Like, what are the odds?
Yeah, one of my friends, like Michael Nakagawa, like he used to train with Alpha Male because he went to UC Davis. Like he got picked up from Uriah Faber then because of UC Davis and stuff, and that's why he got.
Is he a wrestler?
Yeah, he's a wrestler. Yeah, big time wrestler. And then I remember the first time wrestling, going with him, and I was in the UFC already, and I was in the UFC already, and Chad was one of the top guys, and Aldo, and then I remember my friend told me, Dustin Kimura, like, oh yeah, he trained with Alpha Male then, blah blah. I walk up straight to him, I shake his hand, I told him, I whooped Chad Mendes' ass, right? And then he was like, wait, what? I was like, yeah, I'll probably whoop Chad Mendes' ass. And he's like, okay. And this is after he just taking my ass down like 100 times in practice. You know what I mean? Like he like or right before he did that, and then we practiced and he took me down like 100 times in practice. You know, I don't know wrestling too good. And then I still told him, like, I'll still whoop Chad Mendes' ass. I'm gonna beat him. Like this is how life goes. You know, I was like, I told him, I'm gonna beat Jose Aldo. I'm gonna be the champ. I was like, these guys they're not gonna touch me. And then you can ask him about the story, and he always told me, like, when it actually happened, he finally told me, he's like, yeah, Max, I was never gonna tell you, but I thought you was fucking insane when he was talking like that. I was like, no, it's just a different confidence. You just gotta put it out in the world. You know, if you think you're gonna do something, go do it and go work hard. I wasn't scared of hard work.
You've always had this attitude, though. Do you know where you got it from?
I don't, like, my grandpa, you know, I guess it has to be from my grandpa. You know, my grandpa, he'd probably be mad. You know, he passed away when I was 8th grade. But he'd probably be mad that I'm a fighter because he didn't want us. He's an electrician, so he just wanted us to get a good job, a great job, family, a house, and all that stuff. But it's just him, hard work, you know. Like, I remember coming home from practices or school. Before you go out, we had to do all the chores, whatever. Every Saturday, Sunday, we wake up at 6 o'clock. He had breakfast made for us, and we'd go out, clean the yard before we could go do anything else. And he just had structure, you know, and hard work. And he's like, if you want to, we had to pull weeds. And he was just one of those guys that would find work out of nothing. Like, we'd be doing one thing, we'd be done, and it'd be done ahead of schedule. He's like, okay, perfect. I need you guys to do this. It's like, no, this is not it. You know, we couldn't say nothing, but we'd get our ass beat if we did. But yeah, I think it was just my grandpa, you know, like, and it was just like sacrifices. Like in high school, what I did when I was playing baseball and stuff, like I gave up all my my recesses, my recess and my lunches, or my lunch. We had 30-minute lunch and 15-minute recess, like, to do my homework, because all I wanted to do was be an MLB player. So when I went out to practice right after baseball, right after school is finished, I remember just going on the field and not thinking about going home. I gotta do homework or I gotta do a project. A lot of teachers would help me out in school and that stuff and this and that. That's how I got cum laude. Like, I'm not the smartest kid. Like, I figured out, I hacked a lot of things going to getting in life. I hacked a lot of things. Like, one of the things in school, I realized that you sit by one of the smartest kids. I used to sit by the smartest kids. Every time I was in class, I'd sit by the smartest kid, ask them for help. They'd help me willingly. Like, okay, yeah, help me. And if I really got stuck, they'd be like, give me that. Take my work, do my work for me. I'm like, oh, really? Perfect. You know what I mean? Like, okay, cool. And I just had to get like C's on top of my tests to get the grades, and I was doing good. Wow. You know, boy was in the money. So it's just about hacking life, I guess.
Not long after that, in the middle of February, the caribou showed up that year. And I got 5 caribou at one time out on the island on the lake. And then, you know, we were all set again.
Feast or famine.
Yeah, it is. It's like a hungry country, but there are a lot of animals, but they're different places. You can fly over the Arctic all day long and not see hardly anything.
Yeah, that's a weird part about it, right? You would think there's animals everywhere.
No.
It's almost like a desert.
It is. It's like the Sahara Desert up there a lot of times, but there are a lot of animals concentrated. The caribou are concentrated. There's herds of 100,000 caribou.
100,000?
Yeah.
Really?
At certain times of the year when they all congregate,
wow,
there can be 100,000.
That's insane.
Yeah,
I didn't know it got that big.
Some of the big Arctic herds, I mean, they don't all get in one place at one time, but they are recognized as a herd. They get into the hundreds of thousands.
Mm.
They're very cyclic. The population goes up and down, but you know, they're in certain places, and if they're not where you are, you're in the Sahara Desert. Then when they show up, it's like the Serengeti Plain. I mean, all of a sudden there's caribou everywhere. You step outside, you hear the antlers all over the valley. If it's like in October when they're rutting,
wow,
you hear the wolves howling, ravens croaking. It's like, what the hell happened? I hadn't heard anything for the last 2 months, and all of a sudden,
look at that! Oh my God!
Yeah,
we're looking at an enormous pack of caribou. What do they call them? They call them packs.
Herd.
Enormous herd of caribou. Look at all those.
Yeah, it's in the summer. Now, in the summer, they're up on the north side usually.
God, that's insane. It's so big. It's delicious meat, huh?
I've sat there at the cabin looking out at the lake, and caribou walking across the lake, moving all the time, and I estimated at one moment I could see 800 on the lake.
Wow.
Yeah. A lot of caribou. Like the way I hunt them sometimes is to run around out there on the lake with them.
Really?
Yeah. Like, can you pull up a picture on Facebook, or you can't do that? There's one of me
Well, if I can
running
find
in
it,
a
yeah.
caribou herd.
I'll look in your notes section.
Why would
It's
you?
right on the front page there where it's like the pictures that you can leave up all the time. What do they call them? Not in the notes section. No, it's right on the
You ran with them, and that's how you were hunting them?
echo chasing. They call it. I told you how I used to study a lot of anthropology. I used to listen to anything that I could hear about how people used to live in the old days, and especially the Inuit and people living up north. There was this anthropologist, Austin Balixi. He made some films back in the 1960s, the Netsilik people, the Netsilik Eskimo series it's called. It's fascinating. He went up Boothia Peninsula in northern Canada and filmed people that still knew how to do things in very primitive ways. And one thing I learned from those films was how they would hunt caribou. And the way these people would hunt caribou is there'd only be, a few hunters. They'd build the little stone, the nooksooks, they call them. It's like a scarecrow. Make a line going down toward the lake so it looks like people. Then the few hunters would move around and they would use their voice. They'd yell and they'd echo their voice around it, confuse the caribou and chase them into a lake that way. They could use their voice to get them down there, and then one guy in a kayak could overtake the caribou and spear them. It's amazing.
But you were by yourself.
Yeah, but this is something you can use by yourself. You can use this technique of using your voice to confuse caribou and herd them where you want them to go. You echo. Out on the lake, if they're caribou, it's wide open. They can see me a half a mile away, and they'll go out in the middle of the lake in the day and stand around out there. If I try walking up to them a few hundred yards away, they might just take off. Yell as loud as I can yell and project my voice over to an island or shoreline, depending on where I am, and it'll bounce back and they'll stop and they'll run straight back at me.
Wow.
I've had them come running by me where Trisha was like, oh my God, she thought I was going to get run over. She was filming once and I could hear her when I watched the video and she's like, oh, I think he's going to get run over. She's like really worried. You see that picture there,
I
Jamie?
can't find it.
It's right on the...
I'll pop it up so you can see.
Yeah, scroll up to the top. Right there, the upper leftmost picture.
This?
Yeah.
Okay.
Trisha took that picture.
Wow. So
Now,
that's
those caribou, they were running away from me before this picture was taken. And I screaming and hollering, echoing my voice off the shoreline, and they turn around and run back. And I do it many times. I had these caribou run back and forth like 5-6 times. I could stay within 50 yards of them a lot of times just by yelling as loud as I could.
You look really close right there.
Yeah. Well, Trisha thought I was going to get, trampled.
And so this is how you hunted them?
This
By
is a
yelling
technique
to-
I've used for hunting, but on this particular day, I was just demonstrating it.
But as you know, and as you've talked about extensively, Joe, this wave of censorship that has happened in the last 2 years since Trump got elected because of Russian propaganda and fake news hysteria.
Yeah.
And it's just propped up these same institutions, and it's really just gone after a lot of alternative and independent media that have gone by the wayside.
Yeah.
And, people who have been propped up by right-wing billionaires and billionaires in general are not going to be affected at the end of the day, but all of the people who've been caught up in this censorship with the algorithms, with the deplatforming, it's really scary. It's really, really scary what's happened.
It is scary to me because the internet, in my eyes, is this unique place where people can get information and distribute information. And then on top of that, you have this almost parasitic entity that is allowing you to distribute information and gather information through it, but also controlling the flow of information and then controlling the flow in its own ideological bend, like to sort of match its own ideas of what should and shouldn't happen. And I think they feel justified by having a guy like Trump in office. Having a guy like Trump come into office, and they go, well, we have to do something about that. So what we're going to do is we're going to silence conservative voices. We're going to silence conservative pundits. We're going to silence we'll call people alt-right and just change our algorithms to make it much more difficult for them to propagate their ideas. I just find that really distressing, because I think that in the marketplace of ideas, you're supposed to be able to combat a bad idea with a better idea. And this is how ideas evolve. This is how people get to communicate. You get to look at what someone's saying, look at how someone's dissecting what someone's saying, and then for yourself, figure out what you believe and what you don't believe. And there should be a free exchange of information so that you could figure that out. And when someone's shown to be a bad actor or a liar or have deceptive news, fake news, whatever you want to call it, okay, now we know, and this is a clear example of that. So now take it with a grain of salt whenever they say anything about anything else. But when you deplatform them and shove them aside, they say, see, they're trying to silence us because they don't believe us, or they don't want us to be in power because they're trying to prop up whatever left-wing socialist economy or dictator that they want to put into place. And it's this weird sort of situation where you've got people dictating and almost engineering our culture.
Right, curating our reality.
Yes. You know what's going on in Toronto?
No.
With Alphabet, the parent company of Google?
No.
It's a very disturbing thing to a lot of people, where they're essentially setting up blocks, and they're putting cameras in these places, and they're gathering data and information, and they're trying to engineer a utopian city. Yeah, I was reading about it yesterday. And I was like, no, like, this is a terrible idea.
Google is so
like,
fucking terrifying.
What if these people don't want to be filmed? What if these people don't want information gathered about them? Like, they're doing it under the guise of, here it is, Alphabet's plan for Toronto depends on huge amounts of data.
Yeah, we need more data collection, data mining.
Their idea is that they're going to make it easier for people to get around and smoother.
But how? By
I don't know.
facial recognition? I love how they always say, oh, people are being sex trafficked and this will help. It's like, no, dude, this is like 0.0001% of all the people that you're, data mining.
It says Sidewalks Labs released more detailed plans for Toronto, the site of Google's sister company's first attempt to bring its techified digital forward sensibility to a full-scale development project. The Sidewalk Labs project dates to 2017, when the Canadian city welcomed the company to an undeveloped section of its waterfront. Now, after 18 months of speculation work, God damn these motherfuckers that pop up as speculation work and backlash from local advocates, the company has a 1,524-page master plan for the 12-acre lot called Quayside. First of all, I hate the fucking name.
What
Quayside.
is it, though?
What is Quayside? 4-volume plan highlights ambitious and sometimes flashy innovations from Sidewalk Labs, which has pledged to spend $1.3 billion on the project if it goes forward. The company hopes to construct all the buildings with timber, which it says is better for the environment. It also catches fire. And build an underground pneumatic tube system for garbage removal. It wants residents to lean on public transit, walking, and biking rather than personal vehicles. Good luck. It's fucking 0 degrees in Toronto, you assholes. And plans to build streets with autonomous vehicles, perhaps from its sister company, Waymo. Listen, delivery robots. Do you know what Waymo is?
No.
No, I don't need. Delivery robots might trundle down its wide sidewalks. The strategic use of very large umbrella-like coverings might make outdoor spaces comfortable all year round. No small feat in Lakeshore, Canada. Sidewalk wants to designate 20% of the apartments as affordable and another 20% as middle income. So they're engineering a city.
Yeah,
and
right.
This is by people who are really just openly social justice warriors. I mean, these are the people that censored that James Damore guy and fired him for having this memo that really kind of discussed women in tech based on evolutionary biology, based on studies. And they said that he was highlighting harmful gender stereotypes, which it's not true. It's not accurate. If you look at what he actually said and what he actually wrote, he even had a page and a half dedicated in that memo trying to come up with strategic ways to encourage women to get into technology. The study the paper that James Damore wrote has no relation to the way he's been framed and the way people talk about him. This is a direct result of Google and Google's social justice warrior sort of ethos, like the way they operate as a company.
Well, Google pretends to be, don't be evil. This seems like some algorithmic shit
gave up
that
on
they
don't be evil. They took that down,
they took
by
that
the
down.
way. Which,
Well,
why the fuck would you ever take that down?
they're like, okay, we're evil now. But this just seems like they like plugged in some shit in an algorithm and they're like, all right, this is our city now. Like they're creating Sims.
It's control.
I mean, Google, I agree with David Pacman's kind of depiction on Google. I think that they're a giant corporation. They have billions offshore in tax havens, and they are not liberal. They appear to be liberal because that's capitalism. You're trying to basically adapt to where society is at, and you want to pretend like you are socially conscious. But when you look at their actual policies, they're conservative as fuck. I mean, they actually fund a lot of crazy, like Koch brother, ALEC, they fund a lot of right-wing organizations. The Federalist Society, they've given huge grants to. So I think that they're kind of playing both sides. Deregulation, to lobby for kind of the deregulation of their industry. So I think that all of the perception and the mantra of Google and YouTube and, catering to like the social consciousness and what you're talking about, I think is honestly just to make more money.
Well, I'm sure they're going to make more money in the process of doing this. But the idea that they're going to engineer a city to me is terrifying.
That's insane.
I don't like it. There was a great podcast that Sam Harris did with the guy who's explaining what Google has essentially done and what they've done with data. The data is essentially a commodity that we didn't know was a commodity, and we all gave up our rights to this commodity. And this commodity, turns out, is worth billions and billions of dollars, and no one had any idea. And they just took it, and now they have it. And they have it for, and what are they giving you for this?
Right.
They let you search things. Like, what are they giving you for this? They let you use their email. Like, it's kind of crazy. They search your email for certain keywords, and all of a sudden, you're looking for a patio chair. You're like, I'm looking to buy a patio chair, and all of a sudden, your fucking Google mentions are filled with patio chairs because you sent an email to a friend.
Really creepy. Or just talk about something, and it
talk
just
about it. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, my guest yesterday, my friend Will Harris, he was talking about trading in his car, and he got a fucking text message that said, "Hey, I hear you're looking to trade in your car."
That is so scary.
Here's a link as to what you could get for it. And he goes, "I'm not clicking that fucking link." Like a text message with a link showed up on his phone because of something he was talking about. He wasn't even talking on the phone. That's crazy.
Really, really scary.
It's fucking insane.
Yeah, no, that's
like, what is
terrifying.
How is that happening? Does anybody know how that happens?
Right.
Like if you and I were talking right now and you said, I need a new laptop, and you started getting laptop ads in your Google feed, what is happening? Is your phone listening to you say that?
Yeah. Yep.
Is that legal?
No, I mean, it combs through everything. I mean, that's what's so fucking scary about it.
And Apple is the best at it in terms of like not giving up your data. It's one of the reasons why I still use an iPhone and support Apple. Apple goes out of their way to not share your data when you use Maps. That's why Apple Maps suck. It's one of the reasons why it's not good. There was a fucking great article that was written about it. They called Apple Maps the Bing of navigation tools. It's like, Bing, the search engine for who the fuck uses that? I use a Windows laptop. I don't use Bing. The fuck out of here with that.
Yeah.
Because Google's better. Right. So you just go automatically use it. But Google's just
no, and Google's fucked.
Data.
I mean, no, and all going back to this whole like tech censorship thing, they preemptively changed the algorithm. That's what's so scary to me is that there wasn't even a law. Like China, we all know that China censors the internet. We've done the same thing here, but people just think that we still have, freedom of information, that we can all access all these things. No, I mean, Google, YouTube, because YouTube is owned by Google now, but they preemptively changed the algorithms. They backpaged all of this progressive media, independent media. So it wasn't just about what they're saying. It's about, this was targeted to basically all extreme views. Everything that they felt like was too radical. Going back to the DNI report, which is where this all started from, this kind of conclusive report that they said these 17 intelligence agencies here's all the evidence of how Russia colluded and cost the election for Hillary. They cited my show on Breaking the Set.
That you did it?
Yeah, they said I was part of the conspiracy of Russian meddling.
Did you Russian meddle? Abby Martin, are you a Russian meddler?
I just did what Putin told me to do, man. I mean, I'm sorry.
Someone's gonna take that and use it as a snippet.
But in the report, it said she fomented radical discontent. And when you look at what all this is, sowing discord, all of these, the black box algorithm from Hamilton 68 dashboard, like this U.S. government-funded Twitter crawler that just like determines what's Russian propaganda, what's fake news. And then you have, Facebook working with the Atlantic Council, which is an organization stacked with literal spooks, cops, CIA heads, and defense contractors, UAE, U.S. government. That's who's like curating our reality now. And it's all about expunging the most radical views on the internet to prop up essentially the system and the establishment. And that's why I know it's not a liberal or conservative thing. It's literally just extremist thought and radical thought that challenges the status quo. Because sowing discord just means disagreement. That's what they said this was about. These websites sow discord, Joe. I mean, I thought that was a fundamental thing about American democracy, is that you talk about what we disagree on. And when you look at what the report says of what Breaking the Set covered, DMT, I mean, that wasn't in the report. You were on there talking about DMT. But
we talked about aliens.
Yeah, no, we talked about who the fuck we wanted. But because I talked about things like inequality and Occupy Wall Street and Hillary Clinton, that was all part of this grand conspiracy to sow discord on behalf of the Russian government. So it becomes very comical once you kind of poke at the underlying narrative driving this wave of censorship.
Are you aware